So yeah, that escalated quickly. Hey guys, MasakoX here, and welcome to part 2 of this endearing discussion about that really weird and interesting enigma of Dragon Ball that is power levels. In the last episode, we talked about Jiren, as well as some other antagonists in the show, which caused some uneasiness amongst the community. We also came to the conclusion that the whole thing about power levels is intrinsically linked to the show thanks to the show's creator, Akira Toriyama. He basically hardwired the whole concept into the actual makeup of the show. Without it, it wouldn't be the same. So if you're thinking that I'm going to be finding a solution to the problem, then I'm afraid that you're going to be disappointed. It's just the way it is. But we're still going to talk about it though, because it is still worth discussing, and we're going to begin today's episode discussing a certain couple of Saiyans from a certain universe with an even number, and I think I know what you're thinking. You're talking about Universe 6 Saiyans, aren't you, Masako? Why, yes indeed I am. Caulifla and Kale. These two Saiyans can actually tap into similar transformations that our main list of protagonists can. The fact that Caulifla and Kale, as well as Kaba, can actually tap into the same power is not just a game changer, but it's also a potential leveler. However, the biggest issue that people have with these Saiyans actually acquiring the powers is not because they actually acquire the powers in general, it's because of the speed that they acquire it in. It was really fast, especially when you compare it to the likes of Goku and Vegeta. Their journeys took years to achieve and accomplish, whereas the Saiyans of Universe 6, their journey was more like weeks or even days. Not only that, but their fusion Kefla was actually really giving Super Saiyan Blue Goku a hard run for its money, and was only thwarted by the likes of Ultra Instinct Goku if you've been paying attention to the Super series. The fact that the main character has to resort to its actual last resort in order to remain the top banana, that's kinda weird, how it just suddenly happened. Of course, one explanation for all this could be down to genetics. As I talked about in my Dragon Ball genetics video a while back, evolution works in mysterious ways. Universe 6's Sadala, the homeworld of the Saiyans, is a far less turbulent place than the one in Universe 7. Saiyans had a chance to evolve, breed and prosper in a much more stable environment, so things would have progressed much more quickly instead of being war-torn. And that's not to say that Saiyans don't evolve quickly in general, because remember, the Universe 7 Saiyans evolved really quickly in our world. 20 years made such a difference. They were living in caves to actually having functioning societies and monarchies. That's quick. But if you just leave them uninterrupted and not actually left in total conflict, they can evolve even faster. They evolve their tails away, their nature is far more docile, and their strength is the same for some reason. In fact, it's actually been enhanced thanks to a little thing called potential. Granted, we've seen the likes of Kale struggling with actually trying to grasp her Super Saiyan power and potential, but with Caulifla, she just had it. It was almost like it was a little bit of fun and intrigue instead of the trauma that we had with all of the other characters that acquired the Super Saiyan powers in Universe 7. These transformations were acquired at some really heavy times, where the character's life was at risk, and they actually had to witness some really seriously, majorly twisted up moments. Be that as it may, let's just take a step back and assess the situation here. A time where a narrative situation has arisen where you conjure up the baddest of the bad, and up to this point, the most iconic bad guy of the series. You then bring him back even stronger, even after the iconic moment where the main character thwarted him, only to then be effortlessly destroyed by a totally new character, and just so happens to be connected with the cast in some really bizarre way where they're actually family from another time, and they have these powers and like, oh my god, I'm your son! When you actually put it that way, it sounds like a bit of a fan fiction, am I right? Well, you don't actually have to imagine it, because that's exactly what happened with the likes of Mecha Frieza. Future Trunks didn't only just kill Mecha Frieza, but also seemed to be actually at the same power level as his own father. But to be fair, come on, everyone at the time thought it was pretty badass, what with the music and what with the action, it was just perfect. But at the same time, it really undermined the Goku Frieza fight. All of that second half of the saga, the Super Saiyan revelation, the destruction of planet Namek, those 5 minutes really kind of counted for nothing when this power was just looming away in the future. All of it had been blown away by a burning attack and a schnick of a sword. Yes, I know, Trunks is a very beloved character in the world of Dragon Ball. I personally absolutely love Trunks. I really like his character, but I think at the time the only reason people looked the other way in this regard is because Terminator 2 happened around the time when Trunks was introduced. You know, Trunks basically being John Connor, because, you know, Toriyama likes his movies. Then there's the history of Trunks, considered to be one of the best movies/specials of the entire franchise. That took about the space of 18 months from when Trunks was first introduced to that being brought out. So there was a lot of time when Trunks was just this guy who just appeared from the future and claimed to be Vegeta's son. There was a lot of intrigue and mystery, and a lot of people are thinking, well, who is this guy? His lineage sounded like a Vegeta X Bulma fanfiction in some ways. But you know what? We didn't care. We loved him and we still love him. The only reason Mecha Frieza came back was to showcase Trunks' power and where the story was going to go. And it's almost categorical proof that Toriyama's method of raising the stakes was actually being implemented. Can you imagine the reaction of what would have happened if Perfect Cell fought the likes of Gotenks? Well, actually we don't have to imagine that because we kind of saw that in the anime with Cell actually being kicked by Pikkon. Yeah, that was weird. Now, speaking of Gotenks, you could write an entire essay about the confusion and intrigue how Goten and Trunks were able to actually touch the ranks of Super Saiyan so young and with so little effort. And we even touched upon that in the Super Saiyan genetics video. But there's still so much more you can talk about. As for Gotenks being able to actually tap into Super Saiyan 3 just because he saw it happen, well, I mean, I'm guessing it's because Toriyama felt like it because he had free reign during the Buu saga? And he doesn't actually really do much in the series save for stalling time against Super Buu. And while he may be entertaining and does some really cool action in terms of the manga and the anime, he doesn't really do anything groundbreaking with the Super Saiyan 3 form, adding it an own unique spin. And the whole Patofu arc in Super? Need I say more? But Masako, what do these two examples have to do with Kale and Caulifla? Well, now is the time to come back to them. It just proves that these transformations in the past had some really major problems in terms of plot, and the only three characters that truly earned the power of Super Saiyan are the likes of Gohan, Vegeta, and Trunks. Yeah, Goku got it, but he just stumbled upon it, and we've already touched upon Goten and Trunks, and yeah, I'm not going to touch upon that again. And do we really need another 90 plus episodes to see characters reach new levels of power? Especially if it's a power that we know the basics of already? Now, I'm not saying that the way that the Universe 6 Saiyans got the power of Super Saiyan was handled poorly, that it could have been better. It could have at least been more dramatic or much better earned instead of Vegeta just going, "Hey, Kaba! There's people you care about! I'm gonna destroy them! Yeah, I'm just gonna hurl mean insults at you! Ugh." Maybe the writers could have come up with a Room of Spirit and Time for Universe 6. Maybe R1 isn't the only one. Maybe Kale, Kaba, and Caulifla could have spent some time in there. Kaba having witnessed the power of Super Saiyan and then trying to perfect it and refine it and show it to Kale and Caulifla. I'm pretty sure that it might have been touched upon in the whole Dragon Ball Room of Shueisha, but I'm feeling that there is at least one person there that regrets actually having expedited this whole process. Which then in turn caused the introduction of Super Saiyan for Kale and Caulifla to be handled pretty sloppily. Female Super Saiyans were a long time coming, but I think the whole revelation could have been, you know, a little bit more dramatic. But having said that though, we still got some particularly spectacular scenes in episode 92 and 93. Okay Masako, if you think some of all of this is awesome, like the future Trunks Mecha Frieza King Cold thing, then why don't you just back off and relax and enjoy the show then? Why'd you have to analyze it so much? For the most part, I do just that and allow the show to be what it is and just enjoy it and relax, I do. And I know that the whole thing about power scaling can be really frustrating, but there are certain problems in the show that just aren't going to go away. Now there is one more thing I would like to discuss about this whole power scaling power level thing, something more questionable than the likes of Kale and Caulifla, and that is Super Saiyan Blue. I think that Blue's current problem is that it has been grossly overused. I've had issues with Super Saiyan Blue ever since this was introduced because the whole introduction and concept was kind of underwhelming, it was just a thing, we then got a very minimal description about it in Super. Yeah, it could have been better. It's just not special anymore. And while it was meant to be technically an upgrade of Super Saiyan God, right now it just seems to be more like a side grade, a variation of a theme. Something that looks more like Super Saiyan and therefore could be a little more profitable, if you know what I mean. I mean, Super Saiyan God looks really special. You know, the power, the color, the aura, it looks different, especially the physique of Goku. Instead of bulking up, he became leaner. That was a pure example of Toriyama's subversion. Super Saiyan Blue, though, was just generic. I mean, yeah, sure, the blue aura looks kinda cool and the whole concept behind it, you know, color, chakra, things I've talked about many times before, that was interesting, but the whole execution just seemed not so. And not only that, but Blue's power just seems really inconsistent. 1 minute you can spar with the likes of Krillin without totally obliterating him, and then the next minute you can take on the likes of True Golden Frieza. I mean, yeah, I know about ki control and you can suppress power levels and you can actually try and gauge the amount of power you use, but with the previous Super Saiyan forms, you know how powerful they are. All the other powers have their own uses and characteristics, but Super Saiyan Blue, just a cookie cutter thing. You need to get stuff done quick, just go blue already. It's used for all occasions because not only is it convenient, and it gets the job done quickly, it's also really marketable. To demonstrate what I'm going on about, let's go back to the moment when Goku was testing the water against the likes of Jiren. Was far more dramatic and better paced to actually give you a feeling of how strong Jiren was. If he just went blue immediately, there would have just been nothing. Yeah, we know Jiren is strong. We just need to know how strong in comparison to what we already know. So that's why I think the likes of Ultra Instinct has excited everyone so much more. It actually was tying into the story, something that we've been invested in right from the beginning of Super. What we said wasn't just a bit of dialogue, it actually carried something. It was something that would be paid off in 2 years' time. Ultra Instinct, that's what we got. That is the kind of thing I love in stories. Something that was a throwaway line ages ago that you almost forgot about comes back with full force and you go, oh, that actually had some purpose! Whis, you genius, I could kiss you! Ultra Instinct isn't just an inconsequential power boost like Super Saiyan Blue. Anyone could, in theory, tap into Ultra Instinct if given the right conditions. Not only that, but the design is pretty simple, and yet it's special. But still, with Ultra Instinct, let's just wait and see what happens at the end of the day, whether it's actually a transformation, or a technique, or, what I think it actually is, just a means of Goku being possessed, and some kind of spiritual connections with past universes and angels that have been erased. This whole thing that I've been talking about just really shows that Dragon Ball sometimes needs to actually break the mold and not resort to the cookie cutter techniques that it's actually resorted to over the past couple of decades. Just try something new, try something bold. Ultra Instinct is something we want to see. Super Saiyan God was stuff we wanted to see. That was interesting, that was different to the norm. Don't just have the spiky hair and a colour swap. And so far, Super has given a mixture of something both, something good and something bad. But the most important thing to remember here is that the debate is still alive and kicking, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. We're not just subscribing to one idea and then calling it gospel. We are coming up with our own ideas, and that's what we want. It's interesting, it's a melting pot. That's what I love, that's why I make these videos. And yeah, I know that sometimes power levels could be considered utter bull and that we should sometimes just try and forget about them, but they're there. They're not going to go away. Dragon Ball is something that sparked so much enjoyment and inspiration in all of us, it's gonna keep lingering in our minds for decades to come. Pretty much the moment that we die, when you will still be thinking about Dragon Ball. It's not going to go away. The one thing I really want from all of this is that I really hope that Toei, Shueisha, everyone else involving in the writing of Dragon Ball Super come up with some more cool ideas for Kale, Caulifla, Ultra Instinct, all the things that Super's introduced. We need to think of some more original ideas, something that just doesn't resort to the convention just for the sake of nostalgia and profitability, and not try and cheapen the idea of Super Saiyan, because that's the last thing you want to do with Dragon Ball. So what do you guys think? Do you like what I said? Do you think there are other foibles that Super has or things that it's actually done really well? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!